everybody, happy Friday. Made it through another week, so well done, keep going. It looks like you guys and your grown-ups have been super busy doing some awesome work. I've loved being updated on Padlet, so keep it coming. I've had a busy week myself this week. I've been into school to help with some of the children that have gone into school, and also it's been my birthday, so I've eaten lots of cake and been spoilt rotten by my friends and family. I'm still missing you lots, and I would like to read you the second part of our story, Paddington. If you remember from last week, Paddington had just met the Brown family and they were going to head back to the house, and so I wonder what mischief he's going to cause when he gets there. Hope you enjoy it, get comfy and enjoy. Paddington tapped the taxi driver on his shoulder. "It isn't a bit like darkest Peru," he announced. The man jumped at the sound of Paddington's voice. "Cream," he said bitterly. "Cream and jam all over me coat." He slid the little window behind him shut. "Oh dear, Henry," said Mrs. Brown. "I wonder if we're doing the right thing." Fortunately, before anyone had time to answer, they arrived at Windsor Gardens and Judy helped Paddington onto the pavement. "Now you're going to meet Mrs. Bird," she said. "She looks after us. She's a bit fierce at times, but she doesn't really mean it. I'm sure you'll like her." Paddington felt his knees begin to wobble. "I'm sure I shall if you say so," he replied. "The thing is, will she like me?" And there's Paddington and Judy about to go into Windsor Gardens. "Goodness gracious!" exclaimed Mrs. Bird. "What have you got there?" "It's not a what," said Judy. "It's a bear called Paddington, and he's coming to stay with us." "A bear?" said Mrs. Bird, as Paddington raised his hat. "Well, he has good manners, I'll say that for him." "I'm afraid I stepped on a jam tart by mistake," said Paddington. "I can see that," said Mrs. Bird. "You better have a bath before you're very much older. Judy can turn it on for you. I dare say you'll be wanting some marmalade too." "I think she likes you," whispered Judy. Paddington had never been in a bath before, and while the water was running, he made himself at home. First of all, he tried writing his new name in the steam on the mirror. Then he used Mr. Brown's shaving foam to draw a map of Peru on the floor. It wasn't until a drip landed on his head that he remembered what he was supposed to be doing. He soon discovered that getting into a bath is one thing, but it's quite another matter getting out again, especially when it's full of soapy water. Oh dear, look, here he is, trying to get out the slippery bath. Paddington tried calling out, "Help!" at first in a quiet voice so as not to disturb anyone. Then very loudly, "Help! Help!" When that didn't work, he began bailing the water out with his hat, but the hat had several holes in it, and his map of Peru soon turned into a sea of foam. Suddenly, Jonathan and Judy burst into the bathroom and lifted a dripping Paddington onto the floor. "Thank goodness you're all right," cried Judy. "We heard you calling out." "Fancy making such a mess," said Jonathan admiringly. "You should have pulled the plug out." "Oh," said Paddington, "I never thought of that." When Paddington came downstairs, he looked so clean no one could possibly be cross with him. His fur was all soft and silky, his nose gleamed, and his paws had lost all traces of jam and cream. The Browns made room for him in a small armchair, and Mrs. Bird brought him a pot of tea and a plate of hot buttered toast and marmalade. "Now," said Mrs. Brown, "you must tell us all about yourself. I'm sure you must have had lots of adventures." "I have," said Paddington earnestly. "Things are always happening to me. I'm that sort of bear." He settled back in the armchair. "I was brought up by my Aunt Lucy in the darkest Peru," he began, "but she had to go into a home for retired bears in Lima." He closed his eyes thoughtfully, and a hush fell over the room as everyone waited expectantly. There they are, look, wondering what's going to come out of Paddington Bear's mouth next. After a while, when nothing happened, they began to get restless. Mr. Brown tried coughing. Then he reached across and poked Paddington. "Well, I never," he said. I do believe he's fast asleep. After all that's happened to him today, said Mrs. Brown. Is it any wonder? And look, there's Paddington Bear, fast asleep in the big cosy armchair. And that is the end of our story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to use this as inspiration for any writing, stories, pictures, anything you want to do, or anything, thoughts or that you've had about this story. Feel free to do something and add it onto our Padlet. Have a lovely weekend with your friends and family and enjoy. See you next week. Bye.